we already spoke about meaning, of course, in our class already while we were reading Gögen. Remember that? We had that idea of the utterance, that no utterance has its independent meaning and meaning as such. You remember that? Okay, so let's start. So language activity means, yes, okay, utterances, minimal expressions.
Kind of going back to those micro expressions.
Exactly, going back to those micro expressions.
There's a bit of a disconnect there for me because in this way, like, all the meaning is emergent. And then, like, I'm thinking of form in terms of like the kind of like Aristotelian form. And so, is there some sort of like fundamental form, fundamental structure that one could be accessing?
Silence or not saying anything is a form of like a response.
Exactly.
And a choice to utilize that response.
Yeah.
And I think that within our culture, like, we use silence as kind of, we want to fill the silence with something. And we look for things to kind of fill that silence with. But when we have just straight silence, we're very kind of, I would say, apprehensive to that. So.
Yes, and we have a lot of situations where the supplementary act is exactly the silence. So it has to be in highly ritualized situations like church or teaching. we have a silence which is needed. And in the 60s at the German universities, students stopped to be silent. And they reclaim their voice, and they pull out the professors.
You mean like in the example they provided about was it critical thought, and how he went through just describing like, oh, this person suggested that critical thought was this, and this person said this, and this website said that, and so then instead of having one meaning for critical thought, we have this like assemblage or list.
Well, it's it's still drawing on the norms for like what an interviewer does, what a survey is, what a person filling out a survey does and is in that situation, and so like the broader cultural stuff and probably some interpersonal stuff,
Because discourse analysis does such an interesting job of analyzing the heck out of that dead language from the perspective of this like one-way unidirectional utterance. It's the utterance itself that is dissected, and not necessarily like I hear you guys talking about the effects of the utterance or these supplements that get added on. And so I was thinking in what way discourse analysis is similar, different, or if it's different, what sort of methodology would capture those supplements or the more embodied type of speech.
At least how it's experienced.
Yeah, the camera is a very specific participant, and you have, when you make things with the camera, not always, but sometimes specific moments, even in babies, when they look at the camera and then they go back to their thing, So you have two worlds. We have our world layered, so an utterance is made of more than just one position and one voice, and that gives this what I call the meaning volume.
Kind of a similar thing with polyphony, not even necessarily that you have these multiple positions, but you're addressing different positions, and it can, because by the nature of our language and speaking patterns, you go through one utterance at a time.
Yes.
But it can be so like layered with meaning.
Yeah.
This kind of discussion.
Absolutely. So you can pick up on these. It's like an instrument you play, and you have the overtones and the subtones. And Bachtin also had this metaphor by the way of the overtones. Yes. Polyphony. Yeah. You were looking like polyphony.
I was thinking that a second.